Welcome to Clinical Data Talks, a podcast brought to you by CRScube. I'm your host, Sylvain Berthelot. Join me and industry experts as we discuss the latest trends impacting the world of clinical data. My guest today probably doesn't need an introduction. Like me, he's a rock star at heart. The world just doesn't know it yet. And besides music, he has a real passion for the clinical industry. He's worked at eClinical vendors, he's been on the sponsor side as well, and he's always keen to give a hand to shape some of the greatest events in the industry. So I'm very pleased to welcome Joe Dustin. Hey Joe, how are you doing?
It's quite the intro. Thanks, Sylvain. Great to be here. Nice to see you.
And nice to see you too. So today we're going to talk about the future of eClinical technology, and we're going to talk about AI as we go along. But I want it to be kind of useful in a way. I don't want us to go in crazy things that are never going to be handy or help people bring clinical trials to the industry. So to anchor us a bit, could you share with us what you think is limiting in the technology we use for data collection and analysis?
Well, just getting right into it, I think that first of all, I've been in clinical trials for 20 years, so I've seen a number of transformations over that time. When I started in this industry, we were still doing most things on paper. Say early 2000s, right around the .com crash, early 2002 or so. That was when I started. And I've seen the transformations of paper to electronic, on-premise to the cloud. And now I would say we're in the third transformation, which is typically revolving around some sort of economic crash, where pharma, the industry at large that is doing clinical research, tends to reshape their business, and an opportunity to have to do more with less. I need to transform what I'm doing. I reorg the company. I lay people off. It happens, right? And then the technology side tends to rise during that time to help with that sort of next wave of transformation. But every time that those things have happened, there's been some sort of limiting factor that has caused the next wave to change, right? If you're talking about clinical data, the core, like the core of what clinical trials needs to be successful. You need good data, you need high quality data, and you need a lot of it, right? From globally, from around the world. I think some of the biggest issues right now are things are fragmented right now. We're back in sort of a hyper fragmentation state post-COVID, and we have, I think, major interoperability issues in general. And I don't know if you or others feel the same way, but big pharma always talks about, I would wish I had one platform, but they never buy it.
No.
Smaller pharma, biotechs, prefer to have a single platform to reduce the fragmentation issues, to reduce the best of breed integration problems and interoperability, right? As what I said is one of the major issues. And then CROs just sort of do whatever the sponsor says. And when they have their own opinion, they sometimes can be faster and more efficient, but in many cases, they're asked to be pulled in 7 different directions, and they have to kind of react to whatever their client asks them to do. However, there are ways for them to be more efficient by standardizing on things. So interoperability issues and then standardization issues are, I think, lack of standardization is some of the big issues. Now we have CDISC standards, right? We have even HL7 in healthcare, right? The FHIR standards are moving data between.
Pharma, like large pharma started, and even large CROs started creating their own platforms to reduce the fragmentation. But now, and maybe tell me if you agree or not on that, but now we've got a lot of fragmentation, but there might not be so much of a push from large pharma, large CROs for platforms anymore, because they've done their own. And to the point that it might be a bit difficult for them to adapt to new technology. Do you agree with that or not?
I don't think it's because they're doing their own. They're still buying stuff off the shelf, and they are supplementing some of those off the shelf things with custom stuff they're doing internally. But again, that also goes through cycles. So I would not say that pharma is building their own technology right now and building their own platforms. I would say with the use of AI, I think the implementation of AI and various manifestations of this in pharma and in general will disrupt what we consider today as software as a service.
Yeah.
And this is the future thing to look for, as in it'll become easier for large organizations to develop their own application layer stuff without having to pay the fees to bigger companies. I'm talking like Salesforce and other bigger Microsoft and like other big companies. But I don't think they're going to continue to build their own platforms. They're going to build data layers, data lakes, integration layers that will allow companies to, if they have a best of breed solution, I want to know what that is, and I want to pull it into my platform in pharma.
Yeah.
Many of them say, I don't really care about your platform. I care about your capability that you do better than anyone else. And that's where you get more. That's why I think more of the fragmentation has been popping up more again.
Yeah, I agree. So more interoperability then. That's one area of change. And you mentioned AI. So it's hailed as revolutionary, but it's also quite scary for a lot of people because we don't really know what's going to happen. Where do you stand on the topic of AI applied to clinical trials and clinical data?
I'm pretty bullish on it. I think many people they want to be careful, and I agree. We need oversight. I think we need, listen, the adoption rates. I was looking at some stats, yesterday when I was preparing for this recording for our podcast, and as of like December of 2024, I was showing about 49% of pharmaceutical and biotech companies have implemented AI and big data in their programs. And this would reflect what? A growing acceptance of AI, but with caution, especially in pharma, right? Because they're highly conservative. But, I used to work at Bristol Myers Squibb, right? I ran clinical innovation there. And it feels like a totally different company now since I've left. One is during economic crash, they ripped apart clinical operations and changed everything. But number two, they have new chief data people in charge, new IT leaders, right, that are forward thinking, that are not afraid to take some risks and try new things. And so you see people that are embedded in those large organizations that like over a weekend say we need to roll out these large language models inside our firewall and start working on this now, because not only does it help us with drug discovery or supply chain stuff, or just even in clinical operations, there are opportunities. But where it started is like what you're seeing right now in pharma, the low risk stuff is just intelligent automation. It's not really AI. It's not really machine learning. It's just intelligent automation that we were doing before with like RPA, robotic process automation bots that you had to program. And now you don't have to program them. They're kind of more prompted, right?
Yeah.
But where the real place I think we can make changes with AI in clinical data management and clinical trials, it's going to be in data management for sure. So that's one area where AI is having a major impact. Data cleansing, quality control, data cleaning, data analysis, data management, like true data management, like prepping the data before it can be sent to biostats, like that, all that stuff is part of it.
Yeah, and with you mentioned standardization. With standardization, you can even benefit from AI even more, because at the moment we're using AI to, well, some companies use AI to read protocols and start doing some of the early data management side. But I'm looking forward to standardization as well, like the USDM, for example, which hopefully will help accelerate this setup and make study changes easier as well. So in terms of data analysis or data collection, where do you see AI having an impact?
In data collection?
Yeah.
I think you're going to have a number of, well, there's a few different areas, right? I think in patient recruitment, you're going to have AI to help clinical trial matching to find the right patients. So you go earlier in the stage to find the patients. Once you get them, you start collecting data, you'll be able to use AI, if I'm thinking about it from a scientific perspective, to sort of make dynamic protocol adjustments, adaptive trials, right? You'll be able to have different type of adaptive trial designs with AI. And this is where the clinical development teams will be using this to continuously review the data over and over again. I've seen solutions out there in trade shows and whatnot of people doing real-time ingestion of data and showing kind of almost like the stats review of like, are we hitting our endpoints yet? Are we hitting our, as the data is coming in on a daily basis, it's just kind of changing. No one's ever had this before. It was more of a, we do an interim lock, we do a review, we see where we are, and then we decide, do we need more sites? Do we need more patients? We go there. This is not mainstream yet, but it's because of a lot of this AI work being able to process the data in real time, but also laying the pipes and the ingestion pipes to standardize the data and bring it in some standard format is making this possible. It's all in the name of speed and quality, right? So all right, adaptive trial designs are one thing. I think you're going to see an addition and enhancement of the use of wearables and digital biomarkers turning into digital endpoints will be enhanced. When I say enhanced, I mean you're going to see more of them getting approved by FDA and global regulators. That will then, because right now there's tons of work being done in the digital data collection world with wearables and other things. Some of them are multimodal, right? It's multiple devices on your body plus an eProbe device plus other things, biomarkers from genetics and lab tests combined with these things. And AI brings all that stuff together and gives you some answers faster. But what you're seeing is a lot of what others in the industry would consider pilot studies, these smaller studies, really is just doing the work to test out, is that biomarker valid or not? Yeah. And then once that's valid, they go back to the beginning again and use it in a real study. And, like as in, I have nocturnal scratching algorithms now that I've tested it and made it valid and FDA is checked off and say, yeah, we would accept that. Now they go back and do legit trials in atopic dermatitis with that as the endpoint, right? And you're going to see more of those type of things happening, and AI will speed that process. A lot of it is also like just understanding the regulatory approval process and having people along the way to manage the services that go along getting that done.
And that's interesting actually, because that's what limited the adoption of wearables to start with, because that was such an investment. No one wanted to be the first one to do it because they didn't know if it was going to be approved. So you could throw money at it and then it not having any return on investment. And also the investment you're putting yourself as a farmer, well, anyone else will be able to benefit from it, because once you've proved that you can do it, then everyone else can follow and they don't have to run those studies anymore. So if you can accelerate those with AI, that's going to be very good, because then you increase the amount of data you can use.
You'll see some pharma companies starting to license these algorithms to other pharma companies. If it builds to that level. It's starting now, but it's small, but I think it's getting there. In addition, I think you'll see, I don't know, you'll see it moving along faster, because those who are starting now, they don't know if it's going to work. And it's just a lot, think about data management. It's a lot of data to collect just to collect it. And I don't know what we're going to do with it yet. So it has to be very fit for purpose used for why we're collecting the data. And that's why a lot of folks just haven't been doing it. If we did, we would have a lot more data to play with and run algorithms on, but people have been they're not just putting wearables on patients just because. So that's why it's sort of taken longer. We don't have a lot of the data. It takes a lot of patience to do that.
And so when I think about AI, I think about it as a tool. It's interesting because we're very focused on it and AI being almost a goal. But for me, AI is like an engine. When you buy a car, you care about the engine, but you care about what this engine is going to help you do, not about it as a goal. So from your point of view, do you think about innovation just from AI, or do you think we'll see other types of innovation that will be as good as AI?
It's a good question. I think AI is it's one of those moments where it's a major step change in our industry and how we think about doing things today. Do we do tasks, how we do work, how we collect data, how we analyze things. I don't think there's been as significant of a change since maybe the iPhone and the smartphone in general, and how we have these things in our pocket now, and it just changes fundamentally how we connect with people, how we live our life, how we buy things, how we all that, right?
Yeah.
There have been a number of buzzwords in our industry, specifically through the years that have come and gone. It was EDC, it was space monitoring, it was mobile health, it was decentralized trials, it was AI. Like all these things they were big deals, and then they kind of go through waves.
Yeah.
What I would say is each of those things had like the sexy, shiny sort of allure to it. But when it became less interesting, it just kind of became mainstream. I think people are focusing on AI right now because it has the highest impact to speed and cost.
Yeah.
And everybody's hurting right now with pipelines in rough shape, trying to accelerate things and trying to reduce their costs and do more with less. And I think that's just got everyone's attention. That's why. But the reality promise of AI is the generative sense is the cautious part, right? It's like we don't want to be generating things that are going to lead us down a false positive, right? I see AI itself is a misnomer in some cases, right? True machine learning in many ways has been going on for many years. It's just becoming easier, more democratized to use. But in drug discovery, for example, I'm seeing an innovation. Maybe it's not as new to others, but to me, at least, it was a bit of a revelation. I'm seeing a lot of these. There's biotechs, but there's tech bios. These tech bios that just their core of their company is this technology that they have. Some of it is AI and drug discovery, identifying targets earlier, and they just decide to develop their own drugs. And why?
Yeah.
Because big pharma isn't probably going to be the one to fundamentally change the way they develop drugs. It's going to be some new company that has no 100-year history of doing this, right? So they're going to develop drugs in new ways because that's just how they started, right? At the core, it's just different. I think you're going to see a number of those popping up, and they're just going to get things done significantly faster and cheaper than the top 10 pharma of the world, and it's going to turn heads. Now, is AI the thing that did that? I think it's part of it, for sure. Maybe it helped identify a target faster and help them do protein folding and all kinds of wacky things in the lab faster. But fundamentally, the innovation is the fact that they just started from a different place. And they decided that using technology at our core, as opposed to science is the core, but technology is now also the core, that fundamentally was the innovation that would get them forward. I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the next few years.
Yeah.
Companies that make headlines there.
But it's interesting because, reading between the lines a bit, I think you're talking about accelerating clinical trials, accelerating clinical research, like the fundamentals of clinical research early on, making it easier to analyze data on an ongoing basis. So kind of a supercharged data monitoring, which allows you to react faster. But we started talking about the problem of interoperability. And do you think AI is going to help with that? Because I think it's still a challenge, and it's still going to be a challenge no matter how much technology we throw at it if we don't really focus on that problem.
So I don't think AI is a silver bullet to fix interoperability. What I do think is you're going to have different players coming into the mix that will potentially solve the interoperability problem because they solve other problems for themselves, which naturally then closes the loop on the reason why interoperability doesn't work. If you're able to get data from sites directly now and not have them transcribing things and not have them, this is it's starting right now with the whole EHR to EDC idea, but I think it's going to go beyond that. I think sites are going to start having their own clinical data infrastructure, which is fundamentally different than what sponsors are used to today. That is a huge transfer of control, right? That will start to help solve the interoperability issue, because if you can connect sites, you're not going to do custom integrations to every site. It needs to be a standardized way to plug in. And if there's like a seal of approval or a stamp that does not exist today that approves them, that I think that is a pathway for, yes, we have standards, but now they're almost enforced, because the only way this works for your business is if you can get your own shop in line and the technology works for you, but you get more trials when you can connect. And if that connection is easy, low cost, standardized, and almost like a push button security authorization, I think things start to change a little bit more. It becomes this network effect, like the dual sides that are benefiting from the standardization. It's not just it's always been just pharma that really benefits. As soon as you get more benefits to other stakeholders, the markets, I think, will change.
In a way, I think AI is really going to have the right impact when we stop talking about it, when we don't actually realize that what we're doing is using AI. And we can focus on less repetitive tasks and tasks that really add more value.
Part of what I've been saying for years, when digital health just becomes health, we know we've succeeded.
Yes, yeah, that's a very good point. Right, I've got one last question for you, Joe, because you sharing your knowledge is not enough. I want to get even more out of you today for our audience.
All right.
What's the best piece of advice you've received in the past that you consistently apply in your work?
It was Glenn DeVries, who was the president of Medidata.
Okay.
And we were just noodling on ideas and mocking up demos of what ended up becoming Medidata's ePro solution to Patient Cloud. And we were just trying to figure out how to get this first thing set up. And I was like, I'm trying to think outside the box here, Glenn. I don't know how to start. And he's just like, no. There is no box. Start there.
Nice.
And so it's just a different way of thinking. There's no like catchphrase besides, that don't put yourself in the constraint of a box to get out of in the first place. It was just kind of think beyond where we were, and then we would do some really cool work in that time. So I consistently think about I guess his catchphrase was always "do epic shit," and that's what we always want to do.
Yeah,
and that's how I guess that's how I sort of live my life in general. Not just at work, but everywhere. And I think life is too short to be boring and ordinary. I think you want to do really cool stuff, really interesting stuff. At this point, even with whether it's clients I'm working with or new jobs I might take, I just want to work with cool people I want to hang out with. And that really can make an impact in the world and keep things interesting, and not just do anything that's like a me too. And so that's my obsession with being different and trying to change things. I've always embraced change.
Well, thanks a lot, Joe. That's been very nice talking to you.
What is the last guitar that you bought?
Oh, the last guitar that I bought is a Gretsch, bright blue Gretsch.
Hollow body.
Whole body. With the the Gretsch, I can't remember what you call it.
The whammy bar.
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
I absolutely love it. It's got like a very nice full sound. Yeah, I love that. What about you?
The last one I got, not a Gretsch, but similar. It's my first semi hollow body. It's I was in Nashville and I went to Carter's Vintage Guitars, as one does when you're in Nashville. It's like the hardware store of Nashville. You know, you're around all these warehouses, they're all just recording studios, and random people walk in and, you know, sweatpants and a hat, and they're all just crazy rock stars you wouldn't even know. And I got this guitar called the D'Angelico. And it's beautiful, but it's like, it looks like a Gibson ES355, but it doesn't have the hole in it. It doesn't have the F hole. So it's just a semi-hollow body, but it's solid on the front. And it's got that bright sound. It's got beautiful like gold hardware, and it's like this blue is off, this like lighter blue. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a fan. It rocks, but it also kind of gets that like kind of jazzy.
Yeah.
So
Nice. One day we'll have to play together.
I feel like we're trying to organize at some industry conference, some random like all-star jam session.
Yeah.
And it's hard to organize because if you just have equipment on stage, you can just plug in that. We're just going to figure that out. It'll just happen. Someone has to sponsor that one. So let's do it.
Yep. Well, yeah, thanks a lot for your time. And I will see you soon, I'm sure, at an industry event.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
You too. And thanks everyone for listening to us. And we'll see you soon on another episode of Clinical Data Talks.